By age 30, Adam Gaunt realized that his life was becoming a vicious cycle. He'd been released from prison in 2004, but unfortunately let himself back into prison by February of 2006. And this vicious cycle is referred to as recidivism. Recidivism is the act of an individual being released from prison and returning shortly after. After returning to prison, Adam Gaunt had the opportunity to sign up for an educational program in order to achieve an associate's degree, which he completed that later landed him a very successful job as a business analyst. So as you can see in Adam Gaunt's story, research shows that education reduces recidivism. But in 2012, all of Indiana's prison education programs were cut, leaving 46,060 Indiana inmates without the opportunity to gain an education, to lower their risk for recidivism, and become contributing members of society. My name's Caitlin.
I'm John. I'm Tim.
I'm Samantha, and today we will be talking about the lack of education leading to recidivism. 76% of released prisoners will be rearrested within 5 years of their release. This recidivism has big effects on our society. Out of the 46,000 Indiana inmates, 9,500 of them are repeat offenders. You all, as Indiana taxpayers, will have to pay for this. The cost per year per inmate is $18,000. This means that Indiana taxpayers will pay a cumulative of $175 million per year in taxes on repeat offenders alone. However, if we reduce this cost, we can reduce recidivism. Statistics show that the #1 way to reduce recidivism is through inmate education. Only 5% of prisoners with a bachelor's degree will ever be rearrested. However, many states, including our own, neglect inmate education. Indiana used to be a leader in inmate education, using the Pell Grant to allow colleges and inmates to afford programming. However, this all changed when Indiana residents appealed the Pell Grant for prisoners, believing that they were not deserving of an education while serving time. Due to this, dozens of programs closed and now only one remains, which we'll talk about a little bit later in our solution. According to leading experts on inmate education, in order to reduce recidivism and increase educational opportunities, Indiana residents must become aware that inmates are deserving of an education and there must be more upper-level educational programs put into place.
So our solution is the BARD Inside Out program. BARD University is actually based in New York, but they work with select universities to provide associate's and bachelor's degrees for inmates. And unfortunately right now they do not currently have the capacity to take on any more prison systems or universities at this time. We'll be partnering with them on a more scaled down version of their current business model. So for our BARD Inside Out program, USI will be connecting with the Indiana Women's Prison due to them just recently receiving a brand new computer lab. We'll be creating an online hybrid learning environment for the inmates to obtain our USI Career Ready certificate. Our classes will be held where half the students are inmates and half the students are university students, where they will be completing awareness-based projects such as blog posts and video posts on inmates' rights to really expand on that awareness. Also, research is showing that employers are willing to hire previous prisoners, however they are not showcasing their skills well enough. Therefore, with our certificate, we'll be incorporating writing, communication, and business skills in order to efficiently resolve this issue. With our solution, students will be gaining the awareness as to why inmates are deserving citizens for this education, along with the inmates actually receiving the education as well.
So the primary targets for our program are inmates, specifically the inmates at the Indiana Women's Prison, students here at USI, and then the Indiana community in general. For supporting evidence and scalability, we were able to talk with a former Indiana inmate named Brian, who was able to confirm that during his time incarcerated, he did not have any access to any post-secondary educational opportunities. We also were able to talk to two leading prison education reform experts, Jessica Neptune and Rebecca Ginsburg. Rebecca has had success reforming the Illinois prison system and has spread awareness through her new book deal and her speaking tour. And Jessica is one of the heads of the new BARD program, which has had success lowering its participants' recidivism rates all the way down to 2%. And the individual success of these programs support the viability of ours, since we'll be drawing on elements from each of their programs for ours.
So our solution provides a unique service to Indiana inmates and university students. There's currently no services in Indiana that provide both education to inmates and awareness to students. The original BARD program does offer education to inmates, but does not incorporate students and inmates together. So this does not provide awareness to students. Additionally, they do not foster community awareness. Our BARD Inside Out program requires students and inmates to incorporate or to complete public accessible in-class projects about inmates' rights and education. Lastly, the BARD Inside Out program does not have the funds to expand to other areas. Our BARD Inside Out program is a smaller scale, university-based program that can expand to any university who want to incorporate inmates into their current courses.
The key to our BARD Inside Out program is our unique business model. Our end goal is to raise enough awareness to convince Indiana residents to advocate for inmates' rights to an education and to reinstate funding for their programs. Our business model ensures that this happens. So we begin with beta testing, as you can see in our key activities and our customer relationships. This will be fully funded through Rebecca Ginsburg, who has agreed to give us $100,000 out of her $1 million grant, and the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation grant. Because Rebecca Ginsburg received $1 million from this foundation for a similar project, we believe we'll be able to receive the full $1 million as well. Our key partners do more than just fund. They also provide us with our key activities and our customer segments as well. USI will be providing our online-based content creation through Blackboard. They will also provide our USI students and our USI professors. The Indiana Women's Prison will be providing us with our inmates. And the BARD University will be working with our leadership team to help us develop our degree programs and communicate with our partners. Altogether, these three partners are going to be helping us raise community awareness throughout Indiana. As we continue beta testing, we'll be using USI's student, professor, and inmate evaluations to perfect our program. And of course, as we're perfecting our program, we will be still raising that community awareness. With the increased community awareness, we'll be able to receive more donations and apply and receive more grants. With that increased funding, we'll be able to further develop our degree programs and increase the partnerships that we have. Our ultimate goal is to raise enough community awareness to receive the Second Chance Pell Grant. This is the version of the Pell Grant that Indiana previously had. We previously received $9 million from this grantor, so we believe that we will eventually be able to receive a full $9 million again. This will allow us to become completely sustainable, so year after year we won't have to worry about funding. And then the last component to our business model is our low-cost structure. In our first year, we expect to have about $68,500 in expenses. This includes our 10 inmates receiving our courses, our employee salaries, and our additional learning fees, as you can see in our cost structure. This will be completely covered by the $100,000 that Rebecca Ginsburg has agreed to give us. And as our program expands and our expenses increase, the amount of money that we receive from grants and donations will increase as well, as I went over in our business model earlier. Additionally, it only costs about $5,000 to completely certify one inmate in our program. If you compare this to the $18,000 that it costs to house an inmate for 1 year, we become socially beneficial to the Indiana taxpayer. So overall, the BARD Inside Out program is a unique, one-of-a-kind solution that benefits students, inmates, and our community. Thank you.